All right, for this explainer, we are diving deep into a really chilling parable about two kinds of absolute power. We've got the engineer and the alchemist, and their terrifyingly different takes on what it means to control, well, everything. So, our story kicks off with this question from a being known as the Sapphire Jester. I mean, this guy has achieved total physical dominion, he's built the perfect prison, but this one question? It shows a massive failure in his grand design. There's a ghost in his machine, and he can't figure out why. Okay, so let's really get into this problem. The Jester has literally engineered a perfect physical void, an absolute vault. But, and this is a huge but, something intangible, something, essential, has totally slipped through his fingers.
So picture this. We're at a gate, a threshold. It's a place of transition. And on one side, you have the Jester, this being of pure mechanical violence and order. And on the other, the unholy Moon King, a creature of shadow and spirit. And their two completely different ideologies are about to slam into each other, right here.
So, how did he do it? Well, the Jester's method is just overwhelming physical force and total erasure. We're not just talking about building walls. He has unmade reality itself, grinding actual mountains into mortar, vaporizing the very names and identities of the people who built it. He's engineered what he thinks is perfection. Or so he thought.
And yet, for all that incredible power, he just can't stamp out this spark. It's that little flicker of consciousness, the static of a personality that refuses to go silent. It is the stubborn, unquantifiable ghost that's haunting his perfect empty room.
And that failure, it tells you everything you need to know about the Jester's whole philosophy. And maybe more importantly, where its limits are. See, he's a master of one domain, but he is completely, utterly blind to another. And then the unholy Moon King just drops this bombshell, this devastating diagnosis. The Jester's whole focus on the physical, that's his greatest weakness. He built a cage of absolute, perfect cold, but he completely forgot that people can carry their own warmth right inside them. And that's the bottom line, isn't it? The Jester is an engineer of the zero. He can smash any physical thing, any mountain, any person, into nothingness. But when it comes to the things that actually matter, the inner world, the soul, he's completely out of his depth. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because it frames the whole conflict perfectly. Just look at the differences here. The engineer uses brute mechanical violence to create an empty, sterile order. The alchemist, on the other hand, his method is spiritual corruption, creating subservience through pure despair. They're not even playing on the same field. So, the Moon King has a different idea, a counterproposal, if you will. And his solution? Well, it doesn't target the body at all. It goes for something much, much deeper. The very reason for being. And this line, wow, it just perfectly sums up the Moon King's terrifying philosophy. See, for him, true control isn't about blowing out the candle. No, it's about convincing the flame to extinguish itself. So you see the difference, right? The Jester was busy throwing his power at mountains and atoms. But the Moon King? His targets are so much more sinister. He's aiming for the spark, the memory, the will, all the things that actually make you a person. He doesn't want to break the body. He wants to shatter the spirit. So the Jester, with a laugh like grinding tectonic plates, basically says, "All right, prove it. Go on, apply your stain to my masterpiece." And what happens next is just a quiet, horrifying demonstration. Yeah, see, the Moon King's plan isn't destruction. Oh no, it's so much worse than that. He's not going to kill the survivors. He's going to fundamentally rewrite their entire existence, make them believe that their short time alive was just a mistake, a brief, painful interruption of what's real, an eternal, all-consuming shadow. And his weapon for this is something called the Blight. Now, get this. It's not a poison you drink. It's a poison for your concept of self. It doesn't kill the soul. It flips it inside out, turning that inner light, that spark, into a black mirror that reflects nothing but despair. And the way it happens is just bone-chilling. There's no big explosion, no screaming. These people, these strivers, they just stop. The will to even take the next breath is just gone. They don't die. They're reborn as something else.
They aren't just gone, they're repurposed. Their hollowed-out spirits are transformed into monuments of their own failure. They become the living, well, not living, soulless gargoyles that give the Jester's perfect wall its final terrifying touch.
So, in the end, you have these two methods that seem like polar opposites, right? Physical annihilation versus spiritual corruption. But it turns out they're not opposites at all. There's something else entirely. And the Jester, he gets it instantly. He sees the grotesque beauty in what they've done together. His own work was flawed, it was incomplete. But now, with the alchemist's touch, it's finally perfect. And that right there, that's the core message of this whole parable. Absolute physical control and absolute spiritual corruption, they're not enemies. They're partners. They're two sides of the same cold coin. One builds the perfect, inescapable prison, and the other makes sure the prisoner doesn't even want to leave. And with that chilling realization, the unholy Moon King makes the announcement. The coin is spent. Their horrifying project is complete. And a new era, defined by their terrifying union, has just begun. And that's what this whole story leaves us with, right? This one final chilling question to think about. When the force of absolute order and the force of absolute despair are working towards the exact same goal, what's even left for anyone to resist?